Meet Bob. He is a simple burger man. He's just trying to live out his dream of owning a burger restaurant and raise his 3 kids. He doesn't like fancy things. This is his favorite shirt. He promises to never compromise on quality. Okay, so we know Bob owns a struggling family business. The show always points out that Bob is not doing that well. But how much money does he make exactly? It's best to work backwards to determine a floor for his income. First, we know from the sign in his restaurant that the most expensive burger, the burger of the day, costs $5.95. Cheese is an extra 50 cents, fries cost $2, and a beer is $4. The restaurant is open 7 days a week. Some days, Bob closes early, but except for Thanksgiving and Christmas, the restaurant is always open. We know from that one episode where Teddy had to start exercising that he eats a burger every day. He also doesn't have any self-control. So, let's assume Teddy orders a burger with cheese, a fry, and a beer, which comes out to $12.45. With a 20% tip, Bob makes at least $14.94 every day from Teddy. From that same Teddy Needs to Exercise episode, we know that Mort also eats often at the restaurant, but sometimes he gets a soup, which is not on the menu board, but let's say it's the same price as a regular burger. So, $5. If Mort comes to the restaurant 5 times a week, 2 days he orders what Teddy gets, so $14.94 for him. The other 3 days he only gets the cheap soup. In a week he spends $53.86 with a 20% tip, or about $7.70 per day. Teddy and Mort, his regulars, earn Bob at least $22.64 per day, or $701.84 in a month if there is only customers. That works out to only $8,150.40 per year if he keeps the restaurant open 360 days out of the year. That should be Bob's floor. It's tough to know how much Bob gets from other customers, but in one episode he decided to enter into a float competition because it had a guaranteed prize of $500, which he said is more than he would make during lunch. I'll be generous and say Bob probably makes $350 a day during lunch, or 70% of that prize money. To make that $350 during lunch, Bob basically needs 24 Teddy orders. His restaurant can only seat 26, so this may be a stretch, but with takeout it is possible. If we assume that on average he always makes the lunch rush amount per day, then if open for 360 days, he will make $126,000 per year. That number is more realistic. Of course, that is just revenue. In an episode where the kids were fired, Bob couldn't rehire them back because he couldn't match the $10 a day the kids were getting, which implies that his profits are actually probably way lower. We don't know exactly where Bob lives, but it is a dingy seaside town, probably in New England. Based on Linda's voice and attitude, let's say New Jersey. We also know that the Belchers live on Ocean Avenue. I just randomly picked an Ocean Avenue in New Jersey. It is in the town of Seagard. Let's look for 3-bedroom apartments in Seagard. Okay, so the cheapest 3-bedroom place I could find in Seagard was for $2,000 per month. Let's say Mr. Fisher, the landlord, was actually kind of generous and the Belcher's apartment was crummy, so they actually got it for $1,600 a month. The restaurant is another $1,600, so rent is about $3,200 per month. I had a tough time determining the cost of things like utilities and ingredients. Restaurants typically have tight margins. I doubt it is different for Bob. His restaurant, I think, falls into the quick serve model, which has average profits of around 6 to 9%. A full service restaurant would be Jimmy Pesto's Pizzeria. They typically make 3 to 5%. Basically, if Bob makes 9% profit and averages $350 per day for lunch, he can expect about $11,340 of profit per year. This is money left over for all non-restaurant related bills and expenses. This means he has to feed himself, Linda, and the kids, pay for the car, insurance, internet, cable, clothes, toys, phones with only $945 per month, or $189 per Belcher per month. Bob is well below the poverty line, which for a family of 5 is about $30,000 or $500 per person per month. By the way, I calculated $1,600 per month for rent for the apartment, but Bob doesn't even make close to covering that. So I guess let's just forget about rent, because with rent he makes negative $655 per month. So yeah, a bad month could really hurt Bob. If we assume that his average profit is only 5%, then he only has $6,300 a year for non-restaurant related bills. So $105 per month per Belcher, which is really tight. To put things in perspective, $3 cup of coffee a day works out to $93 per month. That's 88.5% of a Belcher's monthly budget. Will things change if we include dinner? I have no clue how much Bob makes for dinner. He's not open for breakfast. Anyways, I don't think anyone would get a burger for breakfast. There was only one episode, the Hamburger Dinner Theater one, where any information was given about dinner business. In that episode, according to Bob, the robbers stole $227 from the register. Now, was that all from just dinner, or was part of that from lunch too? Let's assume that the $227 is just from the dinner rush. At the end of the night, after credit card sales and all, I'll say Bob makes about $300 from dinner, which is honestly probably a bit too generous. But anyways, his daily average is now $650 a day, or $19,500 per month, or $234,000 per year. With 9% profit, he will only take home about $21,060 per year, so still below the poverty line by about $9,000. For Bob to be above the poverty line, let's say for him to make $40,000 a year, he would need a yearly revenue of about $445,000, or about $1,237 per day, or about 83 Teddy orders per day. If he gets $350 from lunch, which is again generous, he needs to make $887 during the rest of the day to be able to make that average. Of course, all of this is very general. Some costs like rent and utilities are sort of fixed, and so he may make greater per unit profit the more food he sells, but still, Bob is really in a tough spot financially. Okay, so to recap, at worst, Bob makes about $8,000 a year, but a realistic estimate is somewhere from $126,000 to $234,000 a year. And that is just revenue. His profits definitely put him below the poverty line. For him to just be a bit over the poverty line at about $40,000 a year, he would need a yearly revenue of nearly $500,000. So yeah, the restaurant business is tough and not very profitable, at least for Bob. But hey, he is doing what he loves, flipping burgers. I hope y'all liked that video. Hit the like button if you're hyped for the Bob's Burgers movie.